gone and dropped along. I can see it fall from the blood red sky. We got to fight it all. Race until we see the whites of their eyes. When the rain starts pouring down, revolution's such a lovely sound. I can see the shots are closing in, and there's blood in the water now. So what you fighting for? This is where we draw the line. This is where we draw the line. I hear your battle cry. Let me hear your battle cry. Let me hear your battle cry. Let me hear your battle cry.
Episode one of season 2. I think it's total like episode 94, something like that. But hey, welcome in everyone. If this is your first time here, you picked a good episode to start on since it's the first episode of the second season. If this is your 90-some time here, you've been around for season 1, now you're here for season 2, hey, I appreciate you. Keep smashing those like buttons, sending that love on whatever platform you're on, because this season is going to be some great information for people who are in and people who are going, to join, and it's just going to be good. We're talking about moving. We're talking about what does it take? How do you look at it? What are orders? So what are we talking about today? To start it off? Well, you're going to find out. We're still the #1 military podcast in the Midwest, but how long will we be in the Midwest? Well, you're going to find out more about that as we go along through this season. Now, with that being said, we are going to have a special guest today, and he is somebody who is what's called a command career counselor. So one of his jobs is to help people transition into their next role and how to get started with that. So he's going to be helping us, but he didn't start that way. That's not a job that you start out in the Navy with. So we're going to have to see where he started, and then we'll talk to him. We'll bring him in here in just a few minutes, and you'll get to meet him, and he's going to help us on this start to season 2. I'm excited. It's still going to come out. We are live right now. I don't know how long we're going to be live for. Like I said, eventually we're going to be in the recording phase where we're putting it out. But on the audio platforms, if you're listening on Audible, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever, hey, you can still send some love. You can still subscribe. You can still do those things. Help get this information out there. You never know who you might help. And you're going to notice that there's a new intro and outro on the audio versions, and that you didn't have the intro video today. I still have to record a new one. It's been hectic. We got a lot going on, and you're going to find out throughout the season why. But we do still have an homage for the Eagle today. Last time we were together, we were preparing for Memorial Day. We talked about that. We had some bonus content. Oh, man, just noticed our little watch stander fell down. Hey, bro, no laying down on watch. Jeez. Anyway, we talked about that. And I told everybody, hey, get out to some local cemeteries and stuff and talk to your local American Legion and VFW. A lot of times they do performances. I don't want to say performances, not performance, but they do a program in honor of that. And we did. And this time I actually played the bugle for it. There wasn't a flag to, hand to a family member, but it was really cool. We had a great turnout out in the Fortville area, and I really appreciate it. And since it was my first Memorial Day, kind of doing that program, we did a 21 gun salute, which we always do. And this is one of the shell casings from that gun salute from my first Memorial Day performance. So there that is. I'm going to set that up here so I can always remember it. And yes, we're firing blanks, but it's still a shell. It's still a real firearm. So, it's pretty cool. So that's going to go right up here for the Eagle. Cool. So we're going to check out this video. So originally our guest came in the Navy as what's now called the PACT program, or the Professional Apprenticeship Career Track, and it used to be called undesignated. It still gets called undesignated now, but there's PAC seamen, airmen, and firemen. There are different areas, but we're going to look at a video for PAC seamen from the Navy. It's 2 minutes long to kind of show you what that program is, and then we'll bring our guest in to talk about why he decided to join the Navy and how he transitioned into that Navy career counselor role. So let's take a look at this first, and we'll then bring our guest in. So let's take a look at this video real quick. Let me pull it up.
That's on my ship. I know all about my ship. I know every rate that's on my ship. I know all about my ship. I like my ship a lot.
The PAC Sailor program consists of 3 main areas: airmen, firemen, or seamen.
You come in, you don't have a rate, but you can pick after your 1 year. You get to understand the rate more, I guess, because when you pick your rate before you leave for boot camp, you don't really see what your job is like, but picking from the fleet, you'll see what you do every day. You get training in almost every rate. That's why I really like it. It's all around.
Other people I worked with that were undesignated at the same time that I was, they went off and became machinery repairmen. I've had other people become hull technicians. We all went our separate ways. It just depends on what you like working with.
You'll select 3 rates, or you can put the same rate 3 times in a row.
I want to be an airframer. I passed the test, I made airframer. Well, I'm a chief now. It just goes to show that just because you come in undesignated doesn't mean that you're going to be stuck.
I said I wanted a cool job, just like every young guy does.
I wanted to do something with my hands and something close to my original job, which was a mechanic.
I came to my first command as an undesignated fireman, and I went to work for the hydraulic shop. I like putting my hands on equipment and like learning stuff and actually having a tangible product in which I produce.
Working with the airframers, that's your aircraft, you're responsible for it. You're getting the aircraft ready to go fly.
Being an undesignated seaman and working with the bosun's mates, that's where we really get to do a lot of the cool stuff.
Coming in undesignated gives you the chance to go out to the fleet, look at all the rates out there, and then choose what you want and know that you're going to be happy with your decision because you actually see it at work.
All right, so that's Undez, the PAC program. I also want to give a shout out. Somebody who's already commented. I see my mom out there, said she's glad she's here for season 2. Thank you very much, Mom. Happy early birthday to my mom, everyone. If you're in there, tell her happy birthday. It's her birthday this Saturday on the 10th. I think she's 29 again. I think that's right. Yeah, 29 again, Mom. I think so. But also, I wanted to give a big shout out as well to, Cooper's out there. Cooper is one of my old future sailors. I've talked about it. He's crushing it. And most recently, news from him, he made 3rd class petty officer. Big petty officer over there. moving on up in the world. Knew you would. Congratulations to all those out there that made, senior chief, master chief, that made, second class, first class, third class. I know in our command down here in my division, Ian 2 McKinley, who's been in and chatted with us before, made Ian 1 McKinley. So congratulations to everybody out there who made rank recently. And now we're waiting to find out who made chief this year. And if you'll find out when it comes out. So with that being said, let's go ahead and bring in our special guest. Let me get Zoom pulled up here. All right. Let's see here. All right, so our special guest, again, he's an NC1. His name's Christopher Gaitten, and he's sitting on his porch right now. That's where he hangs out. He's always on his porch. Hey, bud, can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear there, Chief.
Hey, there you are. How are you doing?
Great. Just got done with a volunteer event. Ready to chit-chat it up with you?
Yeah, sun's out, guns out, huh? So that's right. So you did a volunteer event today. We do get the opportunity to do those in the military, even like during a working day. We like to still go out and volunteer and help, and most commands really advocate for that when we can. And NC1 Gaitten was able to go to his daughter's school today and help out with their field day event, which everybody who's ever been around a school knows field day. You got all kinds of different events and three-legged races and sack races and, just all kinds of sporting events. Super nice day. You're up in Michigan, right?
I am. Lower Detroit suburb.
Yeah, in the burbs. And the burbs just killing it. So most definitely. So we watched the Undes video and talked about the PAC program. So originally when you joined, that's what you came in as. Now, were you one that joined right out of high school?
Absolutely not. It took me a little bit of time to figure life out.
Yeah, I feel you, man. How old were you when you joined?
I was about 22.
22. All right. Hey, you figured it out quicker than me, man. I didn't join until I was 26. So, that's good, man. So you come in, right? You come into this Undes program, and I feel that Undes gets a really bad name most of the time just from people who don't strive for things. I mean, yeah, it's a possibility. It's going to be hard work, stuff like that. You have to strike for a rate, but a lot of times it gives you an opportunity to get out there, get out to sea quicker, and see a little more and not kind of bore yourself into one job right off the bat. So I think the experience with really any Navy job is what you make of it. And I don't think that the PAC program has its own place. And I think it's a good thing for a lot of people. So, you didn't join until you're 22, decided to come in Undes. Was that a choice that you made at MEPS? You were trying to get out? Like, what's the quickest thing that ships? Or how did you decide to go Undes?
I originally wanted to go CBs.
Mm-hmm.
At the point, CBs was not an option just for quotas.
Yeah.
So I was introduced to the Undes Seaman program, which I was sold on it because it gives you the option to go around, bounce around different jobs and see what, kind of fits your
right
skills and what you are interested in. So that's what I jumped on that for.
Right. And I mean, you think about it, I think I try to, as a recruiter, I tell people, like, look, it doesn't matter if you're a nuclear technician or a ditch digger, which is not a real job, but let's say it was, you're getting the same benefits. Do some rates historically advance faster than others? Sometimes, yes. Sometimes there are jobs that have bonuses. Sometimes there's not. I've seen my job have a bonus as a recruiter. I mean, I didn't get a bonus coming in, but realistically, the job is arbitrary. And a lot of times before you're in, you're only reading what you think what the job is. But if you're an E1 that's in the PAC program or an E1, CB, like let's say construction electrician, both those E1s are making the same pay. It doesn't change that. They both have the same benefits. So you come into the PAC program, right? You've been in the Navy now how long?
Ooh, October will be 18.
18 years, man. It's a long time, longer than me. I'm trying to get there. So you come in Undes, now you're an NC, which we've kind of talked about a little bit with recruiting, but that's different. You're you're what we tend to call a straight stick NC, a Navy career counselor. But was that the first job you went to out of Undez? Did you go from Undez to NC?
No, you have to be rated as a rate first. So I went from undez, struck gunner's mate after a while.
Who ya guys?
Then when PTS came out, performed to serve, because gunner's mate was overmanned, I got pushed over to aviation electronics technician from there. And then,
AV
yes, AT.
or AT? Oh, AT, yeah, AT.
Yeah, it is AT when you're coming in, yeah. And then got pushed to a career counselor billet after my sea duty tour, and actually ended up loving it. So I decided to change my job once again, and started with that.
And I mean, you know, this for me, I've told you this before. You're one of the best career counselors I've ever worked with. And it shows. I mean, we were talking about it. You got an award from our command as the, #1 support sailor of the year for NTAG Heartland. And I mean, it was deserved. So you've gotten the opportunity, not just from the PAC program, but to kind of see some other stuff, maybe sometimes not on purpose, but you got to see some different rates. So you go from PAC Seaman, which is, more on the deck level, to going to gunner's mate, right? So you're working with the systems, a lot of different things you can do with gunner's mate, and then they bounce you out of that just because of manning, right? And you go over to AT. So now you're in the aviation world. So you've seen surface and aviation world now, right? And then, you get put into a billet to fill a billet as a career counselor, and you're learning that, like, wow, I actually really like this. And you decided to apply and became, because you have to apply. You can't just say, hey, I want to be an NC. I want to be a career counselor. It doesn't work like that, right? You have to be accepted and show that you're able to do that job.
Recommendations, interviews,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a lot of requests, endorsements, all that. Yeah.
So if you were to break down straight stick NC, and the reason I say straight stick, we've talked before on the show, straight stick NC is the NC rate that works with other sailors, whereas there's NCCRF, which is recruiting force, career recruiting force, where somebody who goes into recruiting loves it, converts, and they're a recruiter. They're an NC, but they're kind of rated different than a straight stick NC. They have a different job because their job is recruiting. Your job is not recruiting. Your job 100% is helping this different sailors. And an NC isn't necessarily always a command career counselor, but you are here. You're a command career counselor. So if you were to put it in terms like civilian terms, how would you explain to somebody, like, what is your job as a straight stick NC?
I would say, to put it in terms, is a subject matter expert in resources.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. And 100%, because it's not just about re-enlistments. It's not just about orders. It's, you're helping people when they're transitioning out. You're helping people, like, as a command career counselor, it's a lot. Like, you have a lot on your plate. And I would say, especially for you at a command like this where we're so spread out, it makes it even more difficult, because it's not like you can just walk to somebody in the next shop and say, hey, man, I want to talk to you about your career path. Like, it's not always that easy. I know you did a lot. We talked about on the show my re-enlistment, and I will tell you that this man right here, normally, look, you give some time for re-enlistment, and because my wife was able to set the stuff up for the hockey game that we did, it was very short notice, and I think what little hair NC1 Gaitten has, he was about to rip it out, because I'm like, bro, like, please help me, this is awesome. And he put together, an award for my wife, for my son, the stuff for me, got it all done, because he knows that it wasn't me waiting to the last minute, it just happened. So, I'm sure as a command career counselor and being an NC, you've had moments though where you're like, I know that was a different situation where you've had people where they wait to the last minute and you're just like, come on, man, it can be frustrating, right? Because you're customer service.
Yeah. I jump through hoops, but I will always do it for anybody that needs it. So
yeah,
absolutely.
I would almost say too, another way to kind of describe your job is, a little kind of like HR rep, kind of. ish, right? Like, oh, hey, because it's more about like career path and stuff, and kind of a little bit customer service. Like, if I'm in a store and something's whatever, like you would be the person like this up there in the front that I need to go and talk to because you know all the processes and stuff. Like customer service of your naval career, kind of like it's hard to explain because you do so much, right?
More of the nucleus
Yeah.
center all around.
Yeah, you kind of got fingers in a lot of different pots. And then you're helping too. So you have divisional career counselors who aren't the NC rate, but they're there to kind of help you. They know their division better, and they're kind of feeding you the information for you to look at the whole command picture, right? So you got like,
Right.
they're like your little minions, kind of. And they get to put it on their eval, and it looks good.
I don't want to call them minions, but they do well, and they do help out a lot.
Yeah, it's big, right? That really helps. I mean, you got to have that. So, you know, you've helped me a lot. You've been around, and we've talked about season 2. We're in season 2 now. I talked to you a little bit about it. You know, it's like episode 95, 96, something like that. But episode 1 of season 2, and you know that I'm transferring, and I realize that there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot to prepare for, and a lot to make sure is correct. And there's your field day, girl, right there. But we have, I think sometimes so much of it gets overlooked, and I want to put this season together to really help people maybe to go back and look at like, okay, what do I need to make sure I have in line? Where do I start? And I would say that understanding your timelines, which is something that you deal with, right, is big, and understanding how that can affect you. So I know that when it comes down to it, like being a subject matter expert, you put out kind of timelines for sailors. Can you kind of, you know, before you do that, again, you're here on episode 1 of season 2 of Behind the Helm. Please make sure to smash that like button, share this feed, do all those algorithmic things to get this information out there, because you never know who you might help. We're here with NC1 Christopher Gaitten, my command career counselor. Great guy, you know. But what, like, how does, if you're a sailor, okay, and you re-enlisted, you worked with your command career counselor, you re-enlisted, so you know that you're going to go somewhere else. You're going to have these new orders eventually. What kind of timeline do you look at for that? When do you get to like kind of have an idea? Because I don't think people realize that it's not always that the Navy just says, hey, you're in the Navy and here's where you're going. You actually get opportunities to have a say in your career, like where you're going to go. But you got to know those timelines, or you're really going to miss out on that. So how do you know those timelines? Like, what does that look like?
So for the most part, about 90% of the time, it's going to be 12 months out you start applying. I think there's 2 months out of the year where it's closed out, and you either do it 13 months out or you start 11 months out. You don't want to miss those timelines. Those timelines are very fragile. Your first look is big. Most people don't get picked up in their first look, but it's always, you know,
It's possible.
it's always possible. But you don't want to neglect any non-selects. If you miss a window, it's not going to help you out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're at 13 months and you got to apply. 7 jobs is what they want. Apply for 7 jobs in the order that you want,
Mm-hmm.
that you like those jobs. And you don't get picked up, you know, you got your 11 month out, another order window. It's your second time to apply. Rank your top 7 again. Cross your fingers. If it doesn't work for you this time, you always got your third option. Doesn't work for you, your third option, because you're competing against all these other sailors that
Right.
with great backgrounds.
Right.
So it's not like you're getting, you know, a bias on you. You're competing against great sailors as well, and you're same rate structure, same background, but they may have performed better, and they're going to have a better option. So that third look, if you don't get picked up, then you become needs of the Navy, and you need to kind of work with your detailer at that point to make sure you guys can negotiate somewhere where you want to go.
And I would also say too, like, so we're talking about looks, and you get 3 looks, and what we're saying is and we're getting ready to show it to you. There is a website that we use where you can go in and more or less think of it like like a seniority list, okay? Like he's saying you're competing with other sailors, and there's more that comes into that. And you're looking at jobs. I mean, you can look at jobs outside of your rate, but you're definitely probably not going to get picked up for that unless it's like special duty, like recruiting, stuff like that. But they're looking at everybody who applies for this position, and they're going to pick the best fit for them. And they're also going to look at the seniority, right? So the longer you've been in, the more you have, but also your qualifications. So certain jobs come up, and if you haven't, pushed yourself to get certain qualifications within your rate, you may not even be eligible for that job. So where you start is what we're going to talk about. And I think that was some great information there, NC1. And I'm going to kind of show them something here. So, and we'll kind of talk about it. All right. So let me pull this up. All right. So the first thing that you're going to do is that you're going to go to, you can literally just Google My Navy portal. Okay, and you're going to go to the quick links, and it has all these links, but the one you're looking for is My Navy Assignment. And this is what it says about My Navy Assignment. My Navy Assignment allows sailors to view available jobs and make their own applications, or make applications through their command career counselor. Weird. I know a command career counselor. All right, so once you log in, this is what this site looks like. Okay, so this is the hub for somebody who is looking, and this is mine. And as you can see, submit applications, applied for, selected, orders under review, orders pending release, all checked, right? It shows you where you're at in the process. It also shows you what current phase things are in and your application dates, okay? Like the next, what the next session or the next look would be, and you can look at your applications and look at all this. And I would say that this site, there's a lot on it. And if you are in the Navy, even if you're not close to orders yet, you should really go on here. It's going to have your detailer, who's your detailer, so you can contact them. It's going to have just so much stuff that you can start building. Don't wait until right before that first look. Get in here and start putting your stuff together, because there's a ton you could do on here.
Absolutely.
What do you think is, like coming into this NC1 and like looking at it early? You think that's great advice?
100%. So the biggest thing I try to push out is the resume part on that selection.
Right
The
here,
resume
My
part
Resume.
is the biggest thing. Well, once you go into My Resume, this is the time to actually put yourself a resume out there. What have you done at the command? What have you done? What kind of awards have you received? Or when you say to the quarter, did you get a certain qualification? Things that these command are not going to see when they're selecting you. These are gaps you can fill in that hole. You ran what programs? How did your programs do? There's a lot of fill room in these boxes that you can put in there, as well as if you go into your the selection part where it shows your previous last 3 commands. There's blocks in there that you could fill out as well, saying what you did at those commands, and then the next command, then the third command. So much bragging room in there that nobody takes advantage of.
And the thing is I know there's going to be sailors out there that'll be like, well, it's on my evals, and it's on my NCIPs, and yeah, it is. But you have to understand that when these commands are looking to pick somebody up, if there are multiple applicants, right, and say you all have the same qualifications, if you've taken the time to say, hey, look, this is what's important to me, here are the extra programs I've ran, here's the volunteer stuff I've done, they'd be like, oh wow, like this is a very successful sailor just like these other ones, but he's taken the time, or she, excuse me, the sailor has taken the time to fill this out and say, hey, look, I would be a good asset to you and your command because of these things. You don't have to fill out that resume.
Yeah.
And
I'll tell you one thing.
Yeah.
The few sailors I have told to do that, they got their number 1 selection.
Yeah. And you can see here, I'm just showing this so people who are in the Navy will understand, like the View My ETJ electronic training jacket. So it has links in here too where you can go it will link you straight to your stuff so you can look at it. You can look at your history, and you can also go into this right here, my preferences. This is big too. So let's say that you know that you're specifically looking, you're going to a shore rotation. All right, well, you can set your preferences where it's only showing you shore duty jobs, right? You can kind of set this up. And then up here, we could spend hours going through because it's a lot. So I wanted to condense it down, but this is definitely the first place you want to go. You want to talk to your command career counselor. You want to make sure that you understand your timeline, right? When is my first look going to be based on, my PRD, okay, which is, they'll help you with that. But you can get into this early. You don't have to be at your first look to get in here and start setting up your preferences and setting up your personal info and that resume, right? There's always notes and stuff in here. Go ahead.
So under my preferences, this is you speaking to your detailer.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have family out in the area and you're trying to get orders out there. Write it on your preferences. There's boxes for that too.
Yep.
Or if you're at your EAOS and you're like, well, if you can get me here, I'll re-enlist. You can put all those things in there, speaking to your detailer, and they will read that stuff and try to help you get to where you need to get to, just, for morale purposes, if they can.
If they can. They do work with you, and you can see that, like, my detailer is a senior chief FCA, right, which is my rate. He actually just made senior or master chief, so shout out to him. But there's a lot you can do on here, and there's a lot that you can boost yourself with. You can put, like you were just saying, those preferences. There are like click box things, but there's also spots where you can type stuff in so it can be seen, because you can then search by jobs by your preference, and you can search jobs even before the even your window. You could just see kind of what's out there, and you can bookmark stuff. Maybe it'll come open. You can see up here at the top it says current phase is scrub phase, so it'll be open, close, scrub. Like right now what that means is they're scrubbing through the jobs and the ones that people got selected so that they remove them. But let's say you just go to jobs and you search all. All right, well, check this out. This is what you're going to be staring at. So obviously this is by my rate. My rate is selected, but if I wanted to, I could look at AB, ABE jobs. I don't know why I would, but you can. So you can choose. There's all kinds of filters that you can even add to this to kind of filter this down. And if you search by preference, you probably already have that filtered down. I can choose sea or shore, and then subsea or shore, right? And then you can choose, certain just your rate. You can choose specific platforms or communities. You can choose the ones that are accepting applications, that are open, that are not accepting applications, or closed. Why would you want to look at closed ones? Well, it might help you kind of like, oh, maybe a job's coming up at this whatever, and it's not, because it's already closed, right? So you can put in the pay grades as well. And you can see here, this is just a list. It's you're gonna be able to select it. You can bookmark it. It's gonna kind of give you the title, which I know a lot of this isn't gonna make sense to a lot of people. It also tells you how many applications have been put in. So if you are in a window,
very good info.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, hey, maybe I want to apply for this. Oh man, 10 people already did. I know I'm kind of fresh. I don't have, like, I'm younger. It's that way you kind of know your level, and it tells you the status. Hey, this is open. They're still looking for somebody. It's closed. They've already, taken care of it. It tells you if there's any incentives, the type, and where it's located, right? And then it'll tell you what the command is. Like, let's talk about this top one right here. This is basically the job I'm going to, fire control admin. That's open. It's a sea duty. And it's in Rota, Spain as well, but it's specifically for a senior chief is what they're looking for, and it is on DDG 84, right? So, okay, well, hey, I'm not a senior chief, but if I was, I'd be like, oh, okay, Rota, Spain, oh, there's an incentive. Let me see what that is. And you can click this, open it, gives you some more details on it. You can do this drop down. There's a lot. You can bookmark it. You can get your application ready for it. And once it's open, you can see down here, it says apply to selected. Maximum apps allowed, 7. Applications submitted. Okay. So like NC1 was saying, each look you have, you can apply for 7. You don't have to. You don't have to at all, but if you do, you want to make sure, like NC1 was saying, you want to put them in preference. Yes, you get 3 looks, but eventually, if you're staying in, you may become what we call needs of the Navy, where it's like kind of like what people think about with what the military is. Like, hey, this is where you're going, and then you just go. This is an opportunity for you to have some say into where you're going, but it all depends on your qualifications. And hey, did you take that time to fill out that resume? Did you take that time to do that? Did you take some time to research prior to your window? Or is it like you're in your first window and you're just like, oh no, and you're looking and, then you're not necessarily standing out. So just like realistically, I would say NC1, any job, think about it, civilian world, right? Like you want to stand out amongst your peers. And if you're not making an effort to stand out, I mean, don't expect a pat on the back for doing the bare minimum, right? I think that's the simplest way to look at it. And I think that this is great information to start season 2 with, because when you're looking at transferring, this is huge. And I think, like you were just saying, there's so much on there that gets overlooked and unused. And you don't have to. You don't have to put in 7 applications. You don't have to fill out that resume. You don't have to fill out your preferences. But man, it could really, really help you out, right?
So one more thing you can add to that Monday assignment is the conversion you can do now on that.
Yep.
The rating conversion.
So we call that, we say rating conversion or cross-stacking. So once you've been into your job for a year and like there's certain programs, it doesn't even matter certain programs. Technically, you can apply to cross-rate from one rate to any rate if there is an overage and a need, right? If your community is what we call green, right? Like, hey, we're good on numbers, right? And you really want to go to this other program and they have a need for people, you can apply to, on your looks, you can apply to cross rate to go to this other job, and you can do that through there as well. And I mean, it's huge. There's so much on there that you can really take a look at. Again, you're here on episode 1 of season 2 of Behind the Helm. We're talking about getting ready to transfer and how do we get started and what's important. We're here with NC1 Gaitten, who I think just walked outside of his Wi-Fi and his phone. There he is kicking him back and forth. And we're talking about the information that you have and how you use your career, your command career counselor to your benefit on that. And I'm telling you that they're the subject matter experts. So, I know that through the transfer process, it's not so much you, right, as the command career counselor, but getting that information, like you said, you're like the resource expert. Do not sleep on your command career counselor. And if they're not helping you, well, maybe you need to talk to somebody about them, because we
can always find somebody to help you.
Yes, and I will tell you that I've told NC1 Gaitten multiple times that he is easily one of the best command career counselors I've ever worked with. If I need something, he finds it. If I'm asking him a question about something, he's like, hey, I don't know that answer, but I'll get it to you. And I said, well, I can look it up. He'll find it. He just knows where to look for it quicker than I do. And that's what you want in a command career counselor. So when somebody is getting ready to get these new orders and transfer, what's kind of a big thing that you put out to them? Like what, outside of what we just talked about, is there anything else like, because hey, maybe go ahead.
Obligated service.
Yeah. So what is that?
Well, obligated service is the needed time you need to execute those orders to provide enough time to be at the next command.
Yep. So you need to think about that too, right? And sometimes people forget that. So like the orders that I took going to Spain, I had to obligate. It wasn't a specific amount of years, but it was to a specific year to fill that gap. So you need to make sure I'm going to apply for this. Well, you didn't look and realize that the obligated service is maybe longer than what you thought, and you didn't plan on re-enlisting. You really need to look at it. And if you're confused by it, again, like NC1 just said, there's always help. There's somebody who will help you. Talk to your command career counselor, and one of their jobs is to help you find those answers, and they will. Now, granted, just like any good leader, they're not just going to hold your hand through the whole process. Try to do a little bit on your own. But if you're really lost, don't struggle through it and just assume that it'll get fixed. If you need help, you need to reach out to your command career counselor, okay, and make sure, because like, hey, look, if you have an obligated service, you're going to have to re-enlist. You're going to have to go through them, because guess who submits all that paperwork for you? Your command career counselor. So it's definitely something that you want to take advantage of. Now, once you get selected for those orders, right, as the command career counselor, like let's say I apply for these 7 orders and I don't get picked up. So I go to my next window and I look at those and I apply for them, and one of them pops up and I get selected. Is it possible to get, your detail, you're not going to get selected for 2. You can, but your detailer's looking at it, and if you list them in your priority order, because that's what you need to do, let's say that you're eligible and could get selected for your 2nd and 3rd pick, you're getting the 2nd one because that's your priority. So you need to make sure that you have that set well. So once they select you for that, you can go into My Navy Assignment. It shows selected, right? But the orders aren't cut yet. Do you have a role after that point as a command career counselor? Or is it kind of now it's like, hey, kind of hand off?
So that by then it's going to come down to funding, and if it's a funding issue, orders will come out, I would say at least 6 months prior to them departing. Sometimes it could be less, depending on where funding's at the moment.
And it could be earlier. And now those orders aren't going to come through your command career counselor. That's going to come through your admin, right? They're going to get them to you. Hey, your orders you got your official orders, so that you can start making your plans for where you're going to go to next. And that 100% is what we're going to talk about throughout this season, is that transition, right? But we're not going to go past getting the orders for episode 1. Episode 1, 100%, I think we've covered pretty much, a lot of great information. The big thing is knowing how to get to My Navy Assignment and understanding the value of it, and the value of talking to your command career counselor and how important their role becomes for you, and not to sleep on. We've talked about command financial specialist. Now, that's not a rate, right? Command financial specialist is kind of I talked to all my future sailors about it. It's a collateral. But, hey, they went to a school for this. Don't sleep on that. If you don't have that knowledge, command career counselor, same thing. You went to a school to be this resource manager, to know how this stuff looks. Why try to figure it out on your own? Do a little bit of your own. Try to fill out the resume. Try to get in there, but use your resources. And even if he doesn't have the resources for you, or she, I'm saying he because it's you, hey, I'm telling you that especially this command career counselor, this guy's going to find you the information and say, hey, take a look at this. And he's seen so much that the wording on things, because I just recently talked to you about something that came up for me, and the wording was kind of tripping me up, like on what it meant, right? It just didn't, I was like, this don't sound right. So I got a hold of you, and you read it and you're like, okay, I can see what you're seeing, but this is what it means. This is why they worded it this way. Like, oh, okay. Because you've seen that so many times, you're used to that stuff. So, My Navy Assignment, all right? So you're coming up. You do not have to wait till you're eligible for orders to go on My Navy Assignment. You only have to wait to apply. Doesn't mean that you can't start using those resources. Doesn't mean that you can't shoot an email to your detailer. Doesn't mean that you can't start filling out that resume and taking the advice from a 18-year Navy veteran who's been, four different rates, 3 different rates. If you count Undes, 4, I guess. So, he's been around, and he's been a career counselor for a long time, and I'm telling you, he is 100% right. Fill out that resume. It's going to help you. Is there any other parting major advice that you think would be imperative for somebody to really, when they're getting, let's say you're, because it comes 12 months, right, where you're going to start getting your looks, okay? What about 6 months prior to that? Is there anything that in your experience and time and seeing people who have struggled or waited till the last minute or actually done stuff, Is there anything, like, if you know, hey, I'm going to be transferring, I'm going to have these looks coming up, is there anything else that, in your opinion, would be big to kind of prep?
If you're trying to extend at your command, do it before you hit your window. Because once you hit your window, it's too late.
If you're trying to stay at your command?
Yes, if you're trying to stay at your command and extend, do it before you hit your window.
That is a great point. So everybody knows that I've extended in recruiting twice, and there are different windows for how long you can extend. But that is something you cannot wait till the last minute, because as soon as you become eligible, like, you can't, because now the command has to open a spot to fill you too. They can't wait till the last minute. So if if you're out a little ways and you're like, hey, I want to extend here to meet some type of obligation for my own self or an EAOS, that's again something that a command career counselor is going to help you with, and you need to make sure that you decide that early, like, hey, I know I'm going to be up for orders, but is there a possibility for me to extend? All right, well, let's apply. Let's see if that's a possibility and get that approved, so that way, one, you know that you're approved, and two, that you're eligible to approve, and three, if it gets turned down, you know to prep for that My Navy assignment to get ready to take those looks. That's great advice, since you want to even think about that. I mean, I've extended twice,
Happens a lot.
but you got to do that early. You got to do that. You can't wait and be like, hey, I got my first look, and yeah, I don't really see anything I want, so how about I extend? Nope, it's just not going to happen. You have to make sure that you're proactive on these things. All right, so again, I think the biggest thing that we can say to you right now is if you are a sailor, or if you're going, hey, look, like, I got Cooper out here, right? My guy who just made third class. Congratulations to him, right? He's going to be getting to his first command. But hey, when he gets there, Coop, you're a petty officer. I'm telling you right now, man, it's never too early for you to start looking at that site. Anybody out there that's fresh in, once you're somewhere where you can get into with your CAC and get into My Navy assignment, start building it. Start building that resume, putting some bullet points in there, and then, hey, maybe by the time you go to use it, you need to kind of change it. But what if you're forgetting stuff? Like, start building it now and start prepping yourself to be ready to use it.
So if you know how to use My Navy HR, if you go to that site, everything's based off the career counselor program on there. Every resource you could possibly imagine is on My Navy HR.
Mm-hmm.
There's a career counselor section on there as well. All the resources you could think of. If you could navigate that site, your career is going to be great.
Which is not
going to be.
Yeah, it's not hard to navigate, and I believe we've shown it before too about your ladder, because you go there and that's where you're going to get that to see, okay, like, what, maybe you're in a place where you're like, okay, what are they going to be looking for me to advance, which is also going to be the things that they're looking for to pick you up onto other commands. So if I'm at this command or this type of command, what does it say for my year group and rank? What should I be achieving? What should I be striving to do? Those are the type of things that you're going to want to put in this resume too. Hey, look, I was on this shore command and achieved this. Why? Because according to my ladder, that's what I should be doing. And they know that, especially in your career community. That's great too. My Navy HR, that's another site that you're not going to get any trouble being on there. You know what I mean? Go on there and kind of play around with it. Ask some advice from, some of your senior leaders and stuff, but play around with that. Look through there, because that's where you can find too, as well as like the latest op notes and stuff. Like maybe you're in a sea lawyer argument with somebody about some uniform thing. Hey, that's where you're going to go find the actual black and white that actually says something, not just somebody saying, well, that's the rule. Why? Well, let's look it up. That's where you're going to go. And there is so much resource on that site. That's a great plug there too, NC1. Thank you so very much. Navy HR. And again, from My Navy portal, where My Navy assignment is, guess what? These things are in alphabetical order. So My Navy HR has its link right there too. You can get right to it from that site. You can get to a lot of stuff from My Navy portal. It has everything right there for you. So use that to your advantage. Use your command career counselor to your advantage. Make sure that you're, keep an I love me binder too. We always say that. Any extra stuff that you do, don't just hand that in. Make sure you make a copy of it. You save it so when you're trying to write these resumes, you have like, oh, I didn't put that in there. Let me type that in there before the window opens, before you apply for these jobs. Because if you're like, crap, I forgot to put that in there. Well, it's too late now. You know what I mean? So take advantage of it. And NC1, like, I really appreciate you coming on. You got to go play with a bunch of little kids doing the field day thing, right? And I know it's hard to tell. You can kind of tell. NC1's this guy loves to pick things up and put things down. I don't know if you can tell. Like he has those tank top hangers right there. Hold that up. But so I'm sure like it was probably intimidating for some kids. That's okay. So you just tell them like, this is what fitness looks like. I remember the first time I ever met you, man, or I saw you before I ever talked to you. I'm like, that's the command career counselor, bro. I don't want to talk to him. That's scary. But no, nice guy, very knowledgeable, and I hope in my future commands I have a command career counselor who is as knowledgeable and as helpful as you have been to me and my family and this whole command. And we wish you the best of luck. Right? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe next month I'm gonna see your name on the list. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll find out. I guess you'll have to extend past 20 years at that point. So, but hey, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm gonna let you get out of here and enjoy the day with your kids. And thank you for volunteering at a local school, man. It's not,
Thanks for having me, brother. I'm sure I'll be back on another episode or two with the subjects coming up. So let me know.
Oh, man, I'd love to because, like I told everybody, hey, we're still going to have guests on this season. It's just, and we'll still talk about their experiences and stuff, but it's going to be based on these type of things and moving and how that looks and how you set that up. And who knows, I might get lucky and maybe get somebody on from Fleet and Family and all these great
There you go.
I'm telling you, this season is going to be full of so much information that's going to be great for spouses, for active duty, for people going in. And, hey, maybe even the family members that aren't involved in the military to kind of understand some stuff. So.
Sure enough. I'm just spraying my truck. I just washed my truck. My window's down. See, great. This is just great stuff, man.
It's great. This is great live TV right here. But, hey, man, I'm going to let you go. I appreciate you so very, very much. Thank you so much for coming on NC1. And, I'll be talking to you soon. I got all this stuff, all these moving parts, but thank you. And that was some great advice, some that I didn't even think about. And that's why I wanted you on here, man. So I appreciate you and talk to you soon. Okay, bud?
Absolutely. We'll see you soon.
All right. See you, buddy. All right. So I'm going to, end that. And appreciate NC1 for all he does and has done. And, I'm telling you, this is great info. So let's recap. Let's do a little episode recap. This is going to be important for this season that we go over a recap of the things that you really need to look at. So what do? We're deciding whether or not we're going to stay in the Navy, right? We're coming up on, the time that we're going to have to decide that. Who do you get involved with? Your command, your chain of command, but also your command career counselor. You need to talk to them. Decide, are you going to stay in? Is re-enlistment what you're looking at, right? Or are you going to wait, look at orders, then decide to re-enlist with ObliServe? You got to make that decision, okay? Other thing, while you are not up for orders yet, you're not at your look yet, you need to go on way early. Go on to My Navy HR. Navy HR, start kind of going through there, looking at some stuff. Look at your rate path, look at your ladder, look at what should have I been working on, what do I need to be working on to be competitive, both for advancement and for orders. You need to go on My Navy Assignment, which you can get to from My Navy Portal. Go on My Navy Assignment. Go on there early. Get familiar with it. Go through the resume. Start trying to fill it out, right? It might not be perfect. Start making yourself notes so you can start working on it. Get some people to help you who've done it before. Look at the preferences. Start setting up your preferences. Are your preferences going to change? They might. But start setting them up so you're not scrambling last minute to get these things filled out. This is important. This is your career, and if you want to have a say in your career and how things are going to look moving forward for you, it is the best way for you to get the best chance at what you want. Start scrolling through jobs, even if it's early. Start looking at what is out there in your rate. You can go to it when it's open. Maybe it's not open for you. You're not eligible to apply it, but you can see who in your community is applying for what billets, what type of jobs, what's going fast, what aren't people wanting, why. Do your research to prep yourself for when it's your turn. And when you get your looks, you're ready. You have your application or your resume ready. You have your preferences set. And you can start looking at the jobs that maybe you've bookmarked. Hey, this job is still here and it's open. Sweet. Put that on your preferences. And then you need to make sure that your jobs, however many applications you put in, because you can put in 0, or you can put in 7, or you can put it in between. Okay. But the longer you wait, the less say you're going to have in what you're doing. But you need to make sure that you put them in a preference list for you based on where you would like to go between those. Okay. Then you wait, you see if you get selected, and if you don't, you need to prep to get ready to apply again for the other jobs. Okay. You're going to get 3 looks, and you need to make your decisions on that, and maybe talk to people in your rate that have been there before, that have done these things and been to these different types of jobs and commands, and ask their experience. So again, the big thing, My Navy assignment, this is where you're going to start. This is where everything's going to come from. It's extremely important. It's extremely important that you get in there, you're familiar with it, so that you're not waiting to the last minute to get these things ready to go. And that is the best advice that I can give you on getting started on new orders and getting ready to move. Now, granted, throughout this season, we're going to be talking about the move process, the orders process, and moving overseas and what different challenges that has. Is it going to be every week? I don't think so. Not right now, and it's not always going to be live, but it is now, because I can tell you for an absolute fact that next week I will be camping in a cabin with my son and wife where there's absolutely like no internet, Wi-Fi, even cell phone service. So there's going to be no way for me to do it. I think we're going to be looking at an every other week kind of thing right now, okay? But it's because I really want to take the time to get the information and put it together in a package for you to really be able to learn, and hopefully it helps you. So I really appreciate everybody that's been on. And for those of you who are listening on, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Audible, hey, the video is still saved. It's on YouTube. It's on Facebook. It's on Twitch. You can go watch the video as well, so you can kind of see the photos of My Navy assignment, what we were talking about. But it doesn't make it any more or less relevant in the audio format. That is why I'm giving you kind of the rundown of what you should go do and see. So for right now, we're probably going to be looking at 2 weeks from now. And it may be a recorded one because I think we'll also be in Michigan at that time. But I'll make sure to get the next episode. What is it going to be about? I don't know. We're going to see what the next step is and what's important for you to know. So I appreciate all of you coming in. Episode 1 of Season 2 of Behind the Helm. And I'm really appreciative of NC1 Gaitten. I'm appreciative of those who've came on live and those who are watching it later. Thank all of you guys, but make sure you smash that like button. You share this feed. You do whatever you can to help get this information out there on whatever platform you listen to or watch it on. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to continuing this journey through Season 2 with you all the way to the point of getting to Spain and showing you that. We've got like a year, and it's going to be one heck of a journey, and I hope you're ready to come with me. So thank you guys so very much. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good one, everyone.